Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the All Portable Discussion Zone. It's a bi-weekly live stream all about amateur radio portable ops. My name is Charlie, and my call sign is November Juliet 7 Victor. And our two co-hosts are running a little bit late. In fact, there's the first one, Dan, is hopping in here. So we'll have Dan KC7 MSU with us, and Brian, I think, had a little delay as well. W7JAT, he should pop in here in another minute or two. And so our guest this evening, I'm pleased to introduce to you, is Chris, K7TAB, and welcome him. And of course, as always, we have the regular characters in the chat room, although it seems a little sparse this evening in the chat room. Hopefully it picks up. We are happy that you in the chat room have joined us as well, and then those of you who will be watching later. And so first of all, let's get caught up on what's been going on. We usually do a kind of a round robin and take things around the room and see what everybody's been up to. So Christian Claiborne is in the house, though, in the chat, so we welcome him. So let's see. Let's go ahead and start with Chris. We usually go to our guest last, but let's do it different. So Chris, what have you been up to the last couple of weeks?
Chris, K7TAB. I have not been doing a whole lot since I did do a little thing on Humboldt Mountain, my little mountain goat hill.
Right.
And then since then, I think I've hit one mini more madness, so one or two other summits since then, and a little bit of satellite work this week. So that was good. Picked up a couple of new grids. And
cool.
That's always fun.
Cool. Yeah, we'll get into know a little bit more about all that too coming up here in just a minute. So welcome Liberty Cave for joining us as well. So for me, I spent the last week or so, or about 5 days, up in Wyoming in my hometown, up doing some visiting with family, a family reunion, that type of stuff. A lot of traveling. We got to see some people in Salt Lake City as well. And then I did get to do one peek up there, and I actually have that premiering tomorrow evening. So if you guys are interested in seeing how that went, you can go ahead and tune in tomorrow evening for the premiere. But with that, that's pretty much all I've been doing. That's the one and only thing I've done over the last little bit. We've had a lot of vacation and time off. So welcome, Chuck, in the chat room as well. Appreciate you being here. All right, Dan, go ahead and take it away.
Well, hello, everybody. Let's see, it's been a relatively busy week here, so been doing a lot of home repair and stuff, so painting and things like that. Got to get out and meet with some of the Arizona SOTA folks yesterday, so that was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed that, and hopefully we'll get out on a peak again soon.
Cool. All right, good. Hey, hello, Ellen. Thanks for joining us as well. AB8AS, welcome as well. All right, well, let's get going into this. Like I said, Brian will be joining us in just a little bit. He was en route to his house. But we have with us our guest this evening, Chris, K7TAB. And of course, if you don't know, just full disclosure, Chris is a good friend of everybody, of all of us, myself and Dan and Brian. We definitely will claim him as a guest, even though nobody else will. So anyway, we have him on for a couple of reasons. One, he just recently received or reached mountain goat status. But what's interesting about Chris is he does mountain goat or summits on the air his own way, and we'll have there's a few things that he does which are not quite the standard. But one of them that's interesting is that he does satellite operations, and so we're going to talk a little bit about how to get started with doing satellites on summits, which may be the same as doing it from your house, and maybe a little different. I don't know what the catches are and what may be different or not, but we'll start into that. But why don't we give Chris an opportunity he already introduced himself, but to kind of talk a little bit about his journey to mountain goat, where he started, and maybe who his mentor was and stuff like that. So go ahead, Chris. How'd you get started in SOTA to begin with?
Well, like most of us, I was out walking around the hills already, and I got my tech license, and I actually walked up 2 or 3 hills with my radio. I had no idea that SOTA existed. Didn't talk to anybody on those hills. And then somebody did a presentation at a club meeting, and I'm not sure. I don't remember if it was Charlie or Brian, but
probably
one of
Brian.
Yeah, I think it was Brian. But you did a presentation, and I went up on a hill a couple weeks later, and a couple of weeks after that, I had to take a test for general because I was getting wiped out on hills with just 2 meters.
Oh yeah.
And
In what way? What do you mean? Oh, by the way, Madison County Sound Labs, welcome, and also Richie's Radio Room, welcome in the chat room. What do you mean by getting?
I did a couple of hills, Piestua even, and I got 2 contacts on 2 meters, and that was it.
Oh, so you're saying you weren't able to get a lot of contacts?
I wasn't able to qualify the hills, so.
Oh.
And a couple others I struggled, and it was only like 4 contacts. So.
Oh, okay.
So I started studying, got my general
just
pretty
like
quick
that,
after that. Yeah, real quick after that, and then it's been a blast ever since.
Well, what's your background, Chris? What do you do for a living then?
I'm a software engineer. So
you are?
Yeah.
Okay, so technical stuff kind of comes a little easier to you then, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah. Some of it, some of it.
Okay.
I'm not sure that translates to antennas and propagation.
Right.
But yeah, technical stuff is not usually too big a problem.
Right. Okay, so tell us your philosophy about summits on the air. How do you do it aside from the satellite?
Well, you go up a hill and get 4 contacts and then come back.
Yeah, and that's the way you do it every time, huh?
I try.
Go figure.
The adventure is getting there for him.
The adventure is often getting there. Yes, that is very true. And
so you always do plenty of research ahead of time and take the shortest route there. Is that right?
No. Sometimes I do all the research and then still take the wrong way.
Okay.
Or maybe not the best way.
Are there any summits that you can think of that you wish you had done differently?
Matchbox Hill. What's the name of that one up there that you found a better way up right after I did it?
I don't know. Elephant Hill?
No, it's up by the peaks there, and it burnt. So I walked up through the burn on the north side of it. And a couple weeks later, you drove in from the south side, walked up in the trees in the shade.
Oh, you're talking about that one right north Flagstaff, right? What is that one called? Yeah.
There's Brian.
There's Brian. Cool. Hey there, Scout. Welcome to the show tonight. Brian, you made it.
Yeah, I got held up at the Costco.
Oh, the Costco. They said stick them up. We want all your money, huh?
Pretty much. I went in there looking for something simple, and came home with a 500 pack of dishwashers. Now that is there.
Okay, join the club, right? All right, Brian. Well, we're just kind of getting into it now. We're just talking about Chris and how his philosophy for summits on the air, and how I was just trying to lead him into telling us about how some of his fiascos and stuff like that, but he's not biting.
I don't recall any fiascos, not a one. I've done some things that probably weren't the easiest way to do them, like walking Mormon Mountain from my cabin, which is about a 7-mile round trip on a hill you can drive to.
Yeah, right. So, well, sometimes the hard way is the most enjoyable way, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I think, what did I see on a badger or something like that when I was walking up?
Oh, well, you wouldn't have caught that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have seen that on the road. So
yeah,
it was a really nice hike. Cool. I would do that one again that way.
Yeah,
especially with that road. It's horrible.
Yeah, cool. Well, okay. So, do you usually operate QRO, QRP? What's your usual operation? What do you take? What's your gear? What do you take with you? That type of stuff.
Well, for a hill that you have to actually walk up, yeah, it's the KX2 and the wire. That's pretty fishing pole. That's about it. Cool. 20 meters, 40 meters. Usually that's all I do. Every once in a while, I'll break out another band and fail miserably, usually.
Those other bands sometimes are hard, yeah. Cool. So it's a KX2, you said, and so and then your antenna you use is what, a homebrew dipole?
I have a SOTA beams.
Oh, SOTA beams. Okay.
I have a couple of SOTA beams dipoles, but the 2040 link dipole, and I have a homemade one for the workbench, but I don't use that a whole lot. But It works good though. When I have used it, it's worked well.
Yep. Like Christian put in the chat room, K6ARK is saying, and actually he got that from somebody else, but it doesn't have to be fun to be fun, and that's
right.
so true.
Very true.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about satellites then, I guess. So, because that's what everybody's here for and is a little bit interested in. Were you into satellites before you were into SOTA, or did you kind of get into them? When did each of those start for you?
I started trying satellites shortly after I got my ticket, so it was about the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But it took me a little while to get going on satellites, but it was tough. I tried it all the hard ways. I tried it with my little tape measure antenna and a crappy radio, and eventually I got the right stuff and started doing more with it.
And so that when you started out, were you doing that from your house then?
Ish. Yeah, I walked out in the desert and around my house. I very rarely do anything from the house, but
okay.
My house is surrounded by desert, so I walked over there, and I can walk over to DM33, which is from DM43. It's like a quarter mile away. So the different grids for satellites are sometimes fun.
Yeah. Are there any what are some rare grids? I guess that the people chase the grids instead of chasing
Yeah, we definitely collect grids on satellite. Is mostly what we collect.
Okay.
So I've worked a couple now, probably 650, 660, maybe something like that.
How many total grids for the United States?
There's 488 in the continental United States for the Gridmaster Award.
Okay, have you got that award?
I do.
Wow, you've got so you've watched every grid in the United States then?
No. Well,
how does it work?
Well, this is complicated in a touchy subject.
Oh, okay.
Well, let's
open it up then.
Whoever set up the Fred Fish Award, they kind of gave up when they got to the Canadian border, and they said, "Oh yeah, that's the parallel, that's the border." So they just lopped it off, and there's about 9 other grids up there, I think, that are actually part of the continental United States, but those aren't part of Fred Fish or the Gridmaster. So I don't have all those yet. There's a couple more up there that I could get from there.
Okay, but you have...
They're little slivers.
In essence, you have all the others then, huh?
I do have the 488 that comprise the award, yeah.
Okay. And most people do that. They don't do that on a mountain though, right?
I didn't do them all on a mountain.
You didn't either, yeah.
I got a few, but not all of them.
Right.
The mountain thing came in when I needed to get somebody that was further away. And since we live in a valley, that kind of limits your horizon a little bit. So you want to be able to work when the satellite's lower and increase your odds of being able to make a QSO. So I started walking up mountains around the house. And then I started trying to do something crazy and working a guy in Northern Ireland on AO7. And so I started going to Humboldt for that. It's nice and bald and has a pretty decent takeoff. It's not great, but it's pretty good. But a lot of trips up there trying to work him. We had everything that can go wrong will go wrong.
But you didn't work him then?
Oh, I did.
You got him.
I actually ended up working him first from California. I drove over, there were some other guys out running around. KI7UNJ was over in by Pahrump somewhere. He was working grids over there. So I went over to meet up with him. And while I was there, I ran up to Dante Benchmark in Death Valley and went up on top of that and worked MI6 GTY in Northern Ireland from there. So got him a state that he was not getting from other people. So that was cool.
Wow, that's really cool.
Do you rove a lot as well, Chris, in order to get grids, or do you primarily use the summits as a way to get grids?
Well, yeah, to get grids, you have to stay inside of your VUCC circle, so you can't go too far from home. You have about 200 kilometers from all the places you worked. And I've worked a lot of places within 200 kilometers of each other, from South Mountain up to Mormon Lake, pretty much is my area where I can work inside my VUCC circle to get the grids. But I have operated from something like 67 grids around the country. Sneaking off to West Virginia, I stopped many times when I was driving back just to hand out some grids and not take them.
Nice.
All right. Well, so at some point you decided to do satellite and SOTA, and I think you mentioned earlier that depends on whether the SOTA Summit is a drive up or a hike up, what gear you take. So let's start with the drive up. What's your gear right now that you use for satellite when you get up on top of a hill?
Okay, so I haven't been doing a whole lot of that. For drive ups, I take my 9700 up there. I love that radio. It's a fantastic radio for satellites and other stuff too. It's a really nice radio. Prior to that, I was using an 857 and an 817. So
what's so great about that radio? I'm not even familiar with it. Why do you like that for satellite work?
Well, well, the first important thing is it's full duplex, crossband full duplex, so you can hear yourself on the downlink. It has a lot of features. For some of the FM birds, you can turn on AFC, and it's like having a computer control it for you almost. It's really easy.
Okay. Well, so for people who don't know a lot about satellite, then you talked about the uplink and the downlink. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Sure. Yeah. Most of the satellites, they're either a VHF up to the satellite and UHF down, or vice versa. So it's basically a crossband repeater flying through the sky at 17,000 miles an hour.
Okay.
So you'd have to deal with Doppler, probably 10 or so each way on UHF, and it's really not a big deal on VHF. One or two, maybe three, but plus or minus. But
so you have to figure out a way to transmit on one band and then receive on the other.
Yes. So it's either two radios or one that does crossband.
How much? In the SAT community, how many people do you know people that do two different radios?
Yeah, a lot of people use two 817s or 818s.
Okay, and then how does that work with do they use two antennas as well?
Well, we all use, unless you're using a LDPA or like an Elk, you're going to be using two antennas. And a lot of us use the arrow antennas, which are crossed. So you have VHF going up one side and UHF on the other. Okay, so
if you have like an antenna that's crossed, that's basically two antennas that's combined into one.
Sure.
And then you have to figure out, there's some sort of device there that with it as well, right? That splits it up for you.
Well, you'll need a duplex or diplexer, whichever one it is. If you only have one antenna connection. So the 9700 has two, so that's not a problem there. So I don't use that on that. And if you're using two radios, obviously you have two connections. So, but if you're using like a D72 to talk on FM birds, you'll have to have some sort of a duplexer.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at, because I have a D72A, and so it's a radio, it's a handheld radio that's a full duplex, but the problem is, so it's got one antenna port, so that means that you have to have that duplexer then, right?
Yep. And there's a couple people that make them. MFJ's got one. Comet has one. You can get an arrow with one built into the handle, but they've had a lot of problems with those people. That I would rather use one of the big chunky MFJ or Comets if I had to do that.
Okay. And so then, but you like that 9700 because you don't have to mess with any of that stuff, it sounds like.
No, I don't have to mess with that. And it's got satellite memories, so you can just press the button and it loads up the frequency for the bird you want. And you can. So on the sideband birds, you have a transponder that's somewhere between 30 to 100 kilohertz wide. So you can move across the passband. But if you're doing that with two radios, you have to tune both of them at the same time. But with a radio like the 9700 or IC910H, you can just lock the VFOs and just spin the dial and it automatically tracks in reverse on the other one. So
Okay.
So how do you do that if you have like two 817s that
you turn both dials, both VFOs, you have to track them together. I actually, there's some kits you can make your own, but I made the thing out of an Arduino for my 857 and 817 that did cat to both radios and had a button on it that would lock them together. So if I tuned the receive radio, the transmit radio would follow along. But yeah, if you're doing it by hand, you have to tune them both dials.
So do you do that if you don't have any computer control? Do you do that with memory locations? Because you're tuning for the Doppler shift?
Yeah, yeah, you're doing that too. That's the fun thing about satellite is there's a lot of stuff going on. You got Doppler, you got polarity changing, the satellites moving through the sky. There's a lot of stuff, and then the speed, the pace on at least on FM birds is pretty fast. Takes some getting used to.
Sounds like they're very, very busy, and it sometimes can be very difficult to be able to break in.
It certainly is at first, and you get a lot of disjointed QSOs. Go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say, it always seems like there's that one guy too who can't hear the satellite and is calling CQ satellite constantly, and he cannot hear the satellite coming back to him, and he just wrecks it for everyone else.
Yeah, and there's the hola guy.
That's the guy with the 8-meter antenna, right?
It might be, yeah.
He's on the wrong downlink frequency.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff that can go wrong.
Oh, okay. Well, so I was just focusing on VHF, UHF. So you're saying that there's sideband as well that you can do.
Well, those are also VHF. Almost everything we have that's flying and working at the moment is 2 meters and 70 centimeters.
So there's FM and sideband on.
There are FM birds. There's a few of them like AO91, SO50, AO27, PO101. Those are all FM only birds. And so there's no passband. Everybody's in the same spot.
Okay. And so then, go ahead, Dan.
Is there new birds that are coming online soon? Is there any scheduled launches that you're aware of for new birds?
Man, I try not to worry about it, Dan, until they're up there and functioning, because there's always a new bird up there, and a lot of times they don't work. So wait until they get commissioned, and then I worry about trying to use them.
It takes them generally about 6 months to get everything sorted out before it really comes online.
Yeah, it does vary, but anywhere from a few days to, and some of them have other missions they have to accomplish before they'll turn them over to the amateur radio service. So you have to wait for that.
Yeah. So let's get over to the chat here real quick before I ask a couple more questions. One of them is that somebody said it sounds like an awful lot of work being really busy to have to dial two VFOs.
Yeah, it's too much work. It's really hard. It's not so bad if you were on a hill, like if you went up and did SOTA that way, it wouldn't be that bad because you're just going to be calling CQ. So you're really only going to be, you find yourself, and then you just have to tune the higher frequency to stay on yourself, and everybody else will come to you and call you. So that's not so bad. But if you're trying to chase someone and you don't know exactly where they're at on the passband, it gets a little tricky moving around with two radios.
And that comment was by Robert KE0STT. He also has another comment or question. He says, do you record QSOs to be able to, I'm assuming he means audio, record your QSOs and to log them accurately, as a question. And then also the other question is, how about CW contacts?
Well, I obviously don't have a lot of CW contacts. I did cheat really, really bad recently and got several new grids working CW on satellite, but that doesn't seem so bad. If my CW improves, I might do a lot more CW on satellites, but there's not a whole lot of that going on. There are some people that do it, so it's definitely possible.
I remember hearing a few contacts back and forth on FO29 the couple times I played with it.
Yeah, it happens, and there's definitely people there, and it's awesome, really, because I mean, it just gives you that much more passband to play with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and Roger Rugg, who's there, he's just south of us. We know Roger really well.
Hey, Roger.
He's the question was the other part of the question was, do you record your audio? Do you record that's how you log? And Roger says all passes get recorded unless it's just chasing in a single rover and you don't care about the other QSOs.
He nailed it. That's it. And even then, I usually record those. I just don't listen to them.
All right.
But yeah. So like, I've used like the Sony PX series. Those are really good for recording QSOs. I've done it both inline and just ambient. If it's quiet enough out, ambient's usually good enough. You can just lay it on the ground next to you and record. Yeah. You have to be really careful to make sure you say everyone's call sign correctly. Yeah. Otherwise, you might log wrong if you do it ambient. But inline, yeah, it works really well.
You bet, Robert. Robert's saying thank you. By the way, Robert and anybody else in the chat room, I think we're going to do something a little different this evening. Once it's time to wrap up and transition over to the next live stream, which is Jason's Ham Radio 2.0, which the link, by the way, is up in the top of the chat for his live stream that starts right as ours ends at 5 o'clock our time. But once we wrap up the live stream, we're going to stay, or I am anyway, and maybe Chris and the rest of the gang, we're going to try to stay in chat for just a little bit and invite a couple of you guys, whoever wants to really, to come on in and ask questions and chat with us a little bit longer. Just in Zoom, not on the live stream. So think about if you want to join us or not, and let us know. Gary, K7UOU from the Valley, from here in Phoenix, is in the chat as well. So hey, Gary.
And thank you for the congratulations, Gary.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about drive-ups, and you use that 9700 and the Arrow antenna, and it seems pretty simple. You record your stuff, and everything's kind of programmed into that 9700. So so those are drive-up summits. What about the others? Have you done many other summits where you do satellites where you're hiking?
I used to do a lot more of that. I've pretty much curtailed that, but every once in a while I'll take the whole kit up. It'll be just the D72, so it'll be FM only. I'm not hauling an 857 and 817 up anything again. It's just too much work. It's too much weight.
Okay, so when you do a satellite and you're hiking, then what did you say you take again? What's your gear?
The D72 and my Arrow.
D72 and an Arrow. So it's kind of the radio that Brian and I have, that Kenwood.
Yeah.
It has full duplex, just a handheld.
Yep.
And then the Arrow antenna, and that's all you need?
Yeah, I like to use a headset with that and my little recorder. Oh, look, there's a D72.
Dan has one as well.
This is all shiny and new looking. What's wrong with that?
What's wrong, Dan?
It needs to get out of the office more often.
So for the D72A, I was going to ask, there's a newer version out, but it isn't full duplex. Is that right?
The D74 is not a follow-on to the D72.
Yeah, so I guess Yaesu,
it's a nice radio.
Yaesu missed the ball again, dropped the ball on that one again.
Kenwood needs to come. Yeah, they need to make a new radio. I love the D72, and I would love to get some of the D74 features on a crossband.
I like my D72 as well. I actually looked at the 74 and I stayed away from it just because it didn't have the duplex. The fact that it had 220 on it was nice. The fact that it had the D-Star on it was nice. But I'm like the full duplex, especially with the APRS, is way better. And that's the main reason why I have the D72 to begin with, was for the APRS.
Yeah. Well, the APRS on the D74 is really nice too. And all mode receive is kind of cool.
I had heard too that it might be just rumors, I don't know, that they were going to stop building the D-74s. Has anybody heard that as well?
I've heard that D-72 I've heard, but not D-74.
Oh, okay.
And as far as I know, that's the rumor. I don't even know that that's true. I didn't never check. I have one.
Well, they kind of marketed the D-74 as the new TH-6A because they discontinued the TH-6 right after the D-74 came out.
Right.
And I don't know if you look at the used market at all, but I constantly see D-74s up for sale used. And they sit there for a while. The 72s they pop up every now and then, but they get picked up really fast.
Yeah, I like depending on what I'm doing, I actually like the D-72 for like sending APRS messages. That's another thing, another mode on satellite packet. So we'll send APRS messages through the satellites and make QSOs that way. And the D-72 is a little easier to send messages with. It's a little quicker.
Yeah, I just got something in the chat room we need to address. Adam is trying to address that, but Richie's radio room said he didn't know you could do drive up for SOTA, and so Adam was doing a good job of explaining that you can and kind of what that means. But Richie's radio room is wondering if that's new. And of course we know it's not. And that it's intentionally left vague so that does one of you want to grab the kind of the explanation on that one and why you can do a drive up and what the reason is behind that? How about you, Brian? Take it away.
So I think that the main reason for the drive up is to open it up, the activity up to people that might not have the physical ability to summit a mountain on their feet. There used to be the 100-foot rule that was changed, where you had to ascend the last 100 feet using your own power. But now all you really have to do is just get yourself to the top. Vehicle, whatever, how you get there is completely up to you. Once you get there, you can't operate from the vehicle. You need to operate from a portable setting using portable power, non-gas power. If you have a buddy that wants to come up and ride a bike and power a generator, way to go. Solar power, whatever. But the whole reason was to make sure that the activity was open, at least the activation part was open to anybody of any physical ability to be able to activate and operate. Yeah. And for guys like us, sometimes it's kind of a nice little change. You go up, you set up, you throw a table out, and you kind of operate for a little while. And if you can bring a bigger battery. If you want to run QRO, you can, or have multiple antennas and pieces of equipment like I like to do for the VHF contests. So it just gives you some more options.
Yeah, you just need to be independent of the vehicle for your operation.
Right.
So nothing attached to the vehicle, and portable power that's not attached to the vehicle, obviously.
Right.
And then, like Brian said, it really opens it up to a lot of other people that don't have the ability. And it's a nice change of pace. Like Brian said, you can take a big, lead acid battery with you if you want, and a table and a pop-up, and just enjoy the entire day on a summit somewhere.
Yeah, so the other thing I'd add to that is that it's the way that SOTA is set up. It isn't based on how difficult it is. A 10-point peak, maybe a drive up. Well, you might find a 1-point peak that is harder to ascend than Mount Kilimanjaro. Just kidding, but I mean, it's it doesn't, the numbering system and how much a point is worth isn't relevant to how hard it is. It's all based on elevation and the surrounding peaks and how they compare. There's the whole rule book and everything like that. But yeah, you can drive to the top, and I don't think it's something that is not new. You could always do that. So yeah, you bet, Richie. Let's see. So let me see. And there's a couple other things in here. Tim Keene. Hey, I know Kim. He's a mountain goat from New Mexico, and I'm working on some CW projects with him. Tim, I'll be reaching out to you here in a couple days. And Todd's in the chat room. Thank you, Todd, for joining us. And then there was an Elk Antenna discussion a little bit. Hey, there's Tank Radio as well.
Oh.
So let's talk about the Elk Antenna a little bit and how that's different.
It's getting into religion now, Charlie.
Well, good. I'm all about stirring the pot, man.
Well, the elk is an LTPA, which is nice. So if you have an elk, there's just one piece of coax coming out, so you can hook that straight up to your little handy talkie, and that's nice. I have a couple of elks, and I really think my arrow outperforms it. I hear much better with the arrow. So
if I understand,
I don't use it much.
You explain it to me, and we got Adam in the chat too, so that he can explain maybe as well. But so the log periodic elk antenna has a very wide band as far as that's why you don't have to have multiple, two different antennas. Is that right? It's
correct.
Very wide. Whereas the arrow antenna has a very, very direct and narrow band, and so that's pretty much the biggest difference. Is that right?
Yeah, I think there might be a little more gain off of the arrows too, but the elk works fine. There's plenty of people using it. You can make lots of QSOs with it.
Yeah,
and it's a nice little antenna. I threw away all the plastic all the PVC that came with it, and lightened mine up a little bit. But other than that, it works pretty well. I just much prefer my arrow.
Yeah, well, that's cool. That's probably where I'd go to, is probably the arrow antenna. It just seems like what most people use. I'm laughing here at Liberty Cave. He says Kilimanjaro was a long walk up. No doubt. And he also says that if you don't stir the pot, you can't know what there is in the stew.
Yeah.
So that's funny. Adam says log periodics cover a very wide, broad band. You do have lobes on 70 centimeters with the elk, but it certainly works. Okay.
It does. It does at that.
Good.
There's a great question by QRP Life in the chat.
Okay.
He says he's never done any satellite work, and what is the benefit for full duplex? And it's absolutely critical to be full duplex, especially on the FM satellites, so that you can hear other people. You've got a lot of people competing for the same resource. And if you can't hear yourself, nobody else is going to hear you, for one. And two, you won't know that you're walking on someone else. So you really need to be full duplex on FM for that. And on the transponder birds on sideband, if you can't hear yourself, you don't know where your signal is landing inside the passband, and you may be off frequency. And if you're trying to catch somebody, you may be far enough off that person's not hearing you. So it's absolutely critical to have full duplex on satellites.
Thanks for answering that. That was kind of, we're at another direction I wanted to go here in just a minute. Liberty Cave said it took 5 days. It sounds like he actually hiked Mount Kilimanjaro. Is that right, Liberty Cave? Did you actually hike Kilimanjaro? Interesting. And then Tank Radio says he loves his Arrow 2 antenna. He just needs to get the right radio. Is that important?
The right radio? There's lots of good radios.
Yeah, it's not as important as the antenna, I'm guessing.
There's plenty of radios out there. There are some wrong ones, just like for everything else.
Have you used some of the wrong ones?
Like a Baofeng, yeah. It's a wrong one.
Did you try to use a Baofeng to make a satellite contact?
I did when I first started out. That's all I had.
Well, what was wrong with the Baofeng? Why didn't it work?
It can't hear crap.
Oh, okay. Well, that's where I wanted to go with the next one is hearing and really more the pace. Can you describe? Because there's probably a lot of people who have never, including myself, who have actually never made a satellite contact. I've actually heard and saw a satellite contact in action, and it did surprise me at the pace. But can you walk us through, maybe even from the start, where you say to yourself, you know what, self, I want to make a satellite contact. What's the first steps? I imagine it's like finding where the satellite's coming and getting the azimuth and horizon. But then once you actually get in there and you know it's there and you're trying to make that contact, kind of go through the pace and all that.
Yeah, well, the pace can vary, but you have 10 minutes and there's a lot of people that want to make contacts. So generally people will go pretty fast, and you're just going to exchange call signs and your grid square and 73. That's pretty much it. So it'll go quick, and you got to grab somebody's call sign out, whoever you want to talk to. You got to remember it long enough to find a gap and get in there and call them. And you just NJ7V, K7TAB, DM43.
Yeah.
And
so how many stations would you say are calling all at the same time?
Depends on the day. Depends on the day for sure. Yeah, all at the same time. It happens too often, but we get some pretty good pileups going. And it on an FM bird, it's the capture effect, so somebody usually wins.
Okay. So how do you? Is there more ungentlemanliness? Is there more people who are buttholes? Is there more?
There's no more than anywhere else.
Or is it just
radio,
pretty much gloves off and go?
There's plenty of them out there. There's plenty of lids everywhere.
Okay,
right?
so what's the protocol? Describe what a person would be who's a lid or inexperienced versus somebody who actually works satellites well.
So Roger's probably typing right now. Our favorite is A calls, B calls, C. So I call you NJ7V, K7TAB, Delta Mike 43, and Dan, he's a lid. So he calls me without letting me finish my QSO with you. So that happens a lot. And I think mostly it's just people not listening.
Oh, so there is kind of a understood flow then. So you would call Dan, and then Dan would reply to you, and then it's Dan's turn then to call the next person. Is that how it works?
Well, no, not so much. He gets to finish his QSO with me, and that's pretty much that's all he gets.
And that's Dan. He's done.
He's done. He's got to find another spot to get in.
Okay.
So the span though is typically what, about roughly 10 minutes worth of operating time before the pass is over?
It varies. I mean, you get 15. I don't work a lot of high passes where they go straight over the top. I think those might last 16, 18 minutes, depending on the bird, but nothing ever good happens on those high passes.
So is it much easier to get a QSO in there toward, say at like minute 8 or something like that, a little bit later in the pass because most people have already been on there? Or?
So from Arizona, so when the bird is further south, it's a little easier. And like the people up north, they call it polar bear country. They get to talk to each other while the bird's over Canada and the North Pole, and it quiets down on those edges. And like if we have a nice low pass on the West Coast, those are usually really quiet. Those are a great place to start. You can pretty much talk to yourself sometimes, and there won't be too many other people there.
Huh, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, the times that I've listened to it, and it's probably why I've never really tried to get on a satellite. It was just so fast paced, and it just didn't seem like you get your call out there quick enough to actually communicate with somebody sometimes.
It takes some practice, and even still, I mean, Dan edited out the video that you posted. That pass, I spent 5-10 minutes trying to call Kylie K0WPA. She was the only one I was trying to get on that pass because her and her dad are SOTA people, so I was trying to catch her, and I was losing. I lost a lot on that pass, and it was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was me that edited it out, but
it was you that edited me out.
Yeah,
it was funny.
So let's go back to the chat real quick. Richie's Radio Room, he just donated $2 probably for our conversation there. Richie's Radio Room, thank you so much for donating that. Appreciate it. There's a YouTube channel YouTube something, QRP Life. Adam just posted a YouTube channel for what? I don't know. I have to read up here in a little bit. But so a couple questions. One, I don't know which one you want to answer first. Let's go back to let me just ask this one first since it didn't get answered last time. How do you start as far as what's your first steps to find the pass, and what do you use as far as your software or whatever to find out which radio bird you want to work?
Right. So I have a lot of different tools for that. There's a so if I want to talk to somebody specifically, we want to set up a schedule. I'll use satmatch.com. it's great for finding. You can put in different birds and put in your grid square and the other guy's grid square, and it'll find passes during a time span for you. It's just pretty nice. When I go out for a pass,
dating site, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it is. It's Match.com, but it's at Match. On my phone, I have an Android phone, so I use ISS detector when I go out for a pass, and it'll list all the passes that are coming up. And during the pass, I'll watch it, and it'll show a little view of the sky and show the satellite going across. So that's how I operate from that. And then for what was the other one? GoSat Watch for iOS is really nice. I actually use that on my iPad sometimes. But there are a lot of different ways. N2YO and I think AmpSat has something on their site that give you pass predictions. There's a lot of choices, and there's a wiki. I can post the wiki in the chat, maybe.
Sure, or else just send it to me after, and I can put it down or do both in the chat, and then also I'll put it in the description there at the bottom. While you're looking for that, KR7RK, K6ARK posted that link. It's a series from Sean Kutzko, KX9X, and
that's good.
All about satellite ops. And you've worked him, right? You said just today.
Not since yesterday.
Okay.
He was on a SOTA summit.
Yeah. Okay.
And we had the same argument that we were just talking about in the chat about drive ups. He thought he wasn't on a summit legally.
Oh, because he was.
And he was.
Okay.
So I worked him and logged it.
Good. You should.
Roger. Also tell you, help you with knowing where to point the antenna and stuff.
Yeah, it'll tell you which direction. Like, really, all you need to know is where it comes up, where it's going down, and where it's at in the middle, and then you can kind of figure it out from that. But most of them show the whole path on a little circle, just a circle diagram with the elevations marked off in 30 degrees.
Oh, Charlie, you must be on mute.
Sorry. IS Director. This is Roger Rugg. ISS Detector is a great Android app, and Hamstats are on an additional cost. And
yeah, I didn't. None of the things I said were free.
Okay.
But they're like $9. It's not too bad. If you're serious, it's worth it.
Yeah. And then JT was asking if any of us worked at N3BZ today. And I've been busy all day. I didn't even get on the radio at all today. Was he?
Yeah, I didn't realize he was even out there. I haven't been on a radio all day either.
Yeah, I didn't work him, but I did hear him on 4496 talking to somebody about his activations, and apparently the last 20 just barely got it in before the storms hit.
Okay, yeah. So if you guys watching that don't know about Arizona, most of the time, this time of year, we have monsoons that so thunderstorms that just kind of pop up and can be pretty severe, and so you got to be really careful in the summer months on summits on peaks. So okay, Chris, the next question I had was so I'm a new guy. I've never done summits on the air. Sorry, I've done that a little bit. I've never done satellites before. Okay. So I'm interested in doing it. What are the first steps that I should take in order to have a successful first satellite activation?
Do it a lot not from on a summit first.
Okay. All right. So say I'm at my house, then what do I do?
Get your pass software, get your radio, okay. Listen, go out and listen to some passes.
Okay. So get the Arrow. I'm gonna get the Arrow. So I'll get the Arrow radio. I have the D72A, yep. And so then you're saying get the software and kind of look for when the birds are coming, and sure. Get out there and just point where they're coming and just start listening, huh? And
just listen, okay. Yeah, just listen for some passes.
Okay.
And then when you're ready, you think you got it, do some passes either in the middle of the night or real low West Coast passes that are not so hectic, okay. And start getting your feet wet that way. And
So don't jump right in the middle of a very busy one, huh?
no, and don't try to trim down your equipment for a SOTA summit right out of the gate. Use the whole arrow.
Oh yeah, you're talking about like putting holes in it and stuff like that, making it lighter.
Or cutting off elements, cutting the boom in half, and
Okay.
using one element. Yeah, get used to the pace and everything first. I think it'll make things a lot easier for you.
Okay.
Can you at least hear sat traffic with just a duck, or not really?
Yeah, you can hear it. I mean, some of the birds are easier than others, but yeah.
Actually, on a high pass from inside Aravaipa Canyon, I worked SO50, I think it is, on a rubber duck, and on a long rubber duck from in Aravaipa Canyon at Horse Camp. If I think Charlie knows where that is. I don't know if you are familiar or
Yeah, I
not,
do.
but it's a little wider portion of the canyon. It was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I try to not make things so hard on myself.
Yeah, Liberty Cape just asked that question just before you guys answered it, so thank you. But the answer is yes, but with a caveat that it makes it
It's
hard
much
on
more
you.
it's much more difficult to work with a rubber duck than it is with an arrow. I won't even do it, honestly. It's just not even worth it. I'll listen sometimes, but
Well, Chris says that the arrow makes a backpack version of where the boom breaks down.
they do. Yep. And then if you drill a whole bunch of holes in it, it's a lot lighter too.
Cool. All right, so yeah, that's me. I'm going to be my next 1,000 points for Summits on the Air is going to be 100% satellite contacts. Okay.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah, it'd never happen, will it?
That'll be awesome. There's a bunch of us out there. I mean, there's a bunch of SOTA people. I was trying to make a list. KE9AJ, N6DNM, the Zinc Brothers, KJ7NDY, and KI7QEK, father-daughter team, ND0C, and KE0WPA. And there's some European stations too.
These are all satellite SOTA people.
Yep. Those are all people I know have done SATs and SOTA.
Yeah, SATs and SOTA.
SATs and SOTA.
Cool. All right. Well, it sounds like then if I want to do a satellite contact on a summit, I should first get a few under my belt at home. But you probably use the same gear. Use the D72A and an arrow antenna, and then just kind of get practice with that, and then eventually take them up there on the summit, huh?
Yeah. And like I told you, I don't really do it that often. It's really hard to plan your activation around a satellite going by. So a lot of times it just doesn't line up time wise. But there's been plenty of times when I've been on the summit and looked at my phone and it's like, oh, there's a satellite pass coming up. Yeah, I might as well do it while I'm here.
Yeah. That's cool. All right. Let's see. We got 5 minutes left. So anything else, guys, that we want to chat about? Did you have anything you wanted to share with the chat or with the people who'll be watching as far as what we've been talking about so far, Chris?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay.
I was curious about given the fast pace of the voice traffic and everything. What's it really like trying to do CW on a satellite? That sounds really interesting, and I didn't realize that CW was even a thing on the satellite path.
Well, I've only done it, and I had to get my computer involved, Dan, and it was pretty difficult. I had to have a decoder and a program controlling my Doppler for me before I could do it. And I did program my keyer, so I was really cheating. But
so
it's
it
doable.
pretty popular, or is it far less popular than just voice traffic?
Yeah, and let me just say that Dan's question has also been asked by Dan in AI6XG. So he wants to know the same thing as most of the SOTA sat contacts, FM, SSB, or CW.
I think most of them are FM. I'd say most of because it's people not carrying, well, except for the KJ7NDY, most people don't carry an FT847 to the top of the mountain with them.
Okay. So what's it like then, the SOTA, the CW then? Obviously it'd be best if you could head copy, right?
Yeah, well, it's always better if you can head copy, right?
Right. But so how do you? I mean, I guess how can you hold an antenna and send Morse code? That's the question.
You got two hands. How many do you need?
I tried sending Morse code with one hand, holding it, and then doing it on my last
Oh,
activation.
that's right. You're two-handed. You hold yours in your hand. You're in trouble.
I'm in trouble.
Charlie, if you remember, I was sending from the backside of the key when this arm was broken.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
It worked. I worked a couple DX on doing that. It was kind of funny to watch.
So you need a magnet on the bottom of your key and stick it to your radio.
Oh, that's gonna be too much work. I actually have. Yeah, I already have that. My Pico has that. I actually set it on my radio sometimes, but not when I'm operating. I'm not used to it that way. But yeah, okay. So hold it and then just kind of
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and hope you keep pointing the right direction while you're watching your fingers.
I wonder how it is though. I wonder with the CW though if it's comparable to regular summits on the air activations trying to get a digital contact, because there ain't many people out there trying to get it on the other end of that looking for
I don't think there's not nearly as many people doing CW on satellites, but you hear crossband QSOs every once in a while too. So there's a lot of people that can copy and still use the microphone to work the people that are ditting.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up. Like I said, guys, first of all, in the link right up here, wherever in the chat, there's a link to the next live stream, which is going to be Jason's live stream, Ham Radio 2.0. So you can go over there from here. The next thing is we're going to try something different. We're going to open it up to anybody who wants to join us after the live stream is over. I guess I can pop that information into the chat just as we're closing it out, and then you can come on over here to the Zoom and chat with us if you want. If Dan or Brian or Chris, for that matter, has to drop out, that's fine. But we'll see. Maybe we'll stick around here for a minute. We're gonna wrap it up then, and so any final thoughts then, Chris? Before we'll go to you, and then we'll go to Dan, and then Brian.
Just one for Roger and his comment about a 9700 with your antenna on a tripod. Just say no to tripods, Roger. Just say no.
All right, Dan. What do you think?
I'm gonna have to at least give it a try on FM once. So I've never done it yet, but I'm gonna have to give it a try.
Cool.
Field day. Yeah, try it on field day.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. Easy.
All right. Any closing thoughts there, Brian?
No, I enjoyed getting the getting together yesterday and chatting yesterday and hearing about the satellite exploits and all the good stuff. I've kind of dabbled in it a little bit, but not nearly to the level that Chris has. I said I've got about 156 or so not a ton. All most of them FM, but it's a lot of fun. If Chris is definitely the master, I am just a mere novice.
Okay. Cool. All right. I'm posting it several times there in the chat for anybody who wants to join us for the post discussion. And so with that, I'm going to say 73 to everybody. Thank you again for joining us. Hopefully this has been a fun discussion for you. So we'll don't forget I have that premiere coming up on Monday night, and then we'll be 2 weeks out. We'll have another one. I don't know who our guest is, but it'll be fun. So Chris, thank you so much. Again, congratulations for getting your mountain goat, and we appreciate you being here.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's fun.
Congrats, Chris.
Thanks, Dan.
Congrats, Chris.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay, everybody, we'll see you later or over here in Zoom.
73.
7-3.